Okay, so y'all, basically, my message is for the women because I'm talking about when I had fibroids or my one fibroid because I only had one. But gentlemen, if you are married or have a significant other, or if you get you a woman in the future, you might know what to look out for. So about 3 years ago, I was waking up in excruciating pain, like so bad. And if you know how period pains are, they hurt. And the pains that I was having was like 10 times worse. So I would get them like right below here in the abdominal area. And I would literally be like this because it would just hurt so bad. And like clockwork, every 2 weeks, that would happen. So I experienced heavy bleeding. My legs were hurting real bad. The bottom portion of my back would hurt very bad. I was just in so much pain. So I would literally have to just lay up in the bed all day long. The only time that I would get out of the bed was when I had to use the restroom. And even then, that was just a very hard and difficult task for me. So, with the fibroid that I didn't know at the time that I had, I would have to change, my pad like twice an hour because it would just be so much overflow of blood, like so much overflow. And I kind of wanted to, show a brief picture of it because I would save that pictures for the doctors, but that would definitely be a trigger warning. So just take my word for it. But yeah, it was just so bad. So it had got so bad, I dealt with it for about a year and I talked to my mom about it. And she was like, well, as your body get older, things happen, but you do need to get that checked out. So after my mom told me that I need to go ahead and get it checked out, I was like, okay, why not? Because by me bleeding and having these consistent pains every 2 weeks like clockwork, it was causing me to miss out on work as well. I would literally have to call in on my job and be like, look, I just could not come in. I couldn't work because I could barely stand up, I could barely function on my own. It was that bad. So I decided to make an appointment. Let me go back. So what happened was it had got so bad that I had started going to the emergency room. Like it was just that bad. I think I went like 2 or 3 times before something was actually done. I'll go to the emergency room. First, they thought it was endometriosis, which is something that is very normal for women my age. I am now 44 years old, and back then I was like 40 on the brink of 41 years old. So I'm like, okay, that ain't nothing. So a month or so passed. I had to go back to the emergency room because keep in mind, I said every 2 weeks, like clockwork, I was having these issues here. So finally, like the third time I showed up to work, wasn't feeling well, sick as a dog. I'm like, I can't keep missing work. I have bills to pay. And besides, that's my job. They've had some type of leniency, but at the end of the day, it's a business, it's a company. People really don't care what you're going through. They have a business to run. So when I first got there, I went into the manager's office and I said, look, do you mind if I call an ambulance to come pick me up and take me to the hospital because I was that sick? And she volunteered to take me to the emergency room. So shout out to her. I really appreciate that for doing that for me. So she take me to the emergency room. I'm sitting there for hours at a time. Keep in mind, this is Grady Hospital. And if you know anything about Grady Hospital located in downtown Atlanta, baby, you going to be there. you going to be there. you going to be there for a while. I was actually there 8 hours before I was seen in the back. But once they finally got me back there, like I said, they said, oh, it's just endometriosis. I'm like, okay, cool. So, they do the CAT scan, they do all of that, do my x rays and all that good stuff. And it came back that I could possibly have a fibroid. And they was like, let's run some more tests. So I said, okay, do what y'all got to do. So once they did, I had one fibroid, which was located on the left hand side, on the left side. And it was this small, y'all, this small. So after finding out that I had that one small fibroid, I'm thinking like, okay, well, I could do a little surgery or they can give me some medicine or something. It'll make it go away and blah, blah, blah. Baby, they had to do a biopsy, meaning that they had to stick a long tube or something, up my uterus to make sure that the fibroid was not cancerous. So I'm like, so that day, like my anxiety was so bad. Like I had to come back for, the first surgery for them to do um the biopsy because I was not about to let them stick that up me. I was wide awake. Like I'm not gonna do it. Like I cannot stand doctors, hospitals, none of that. So I went for the biopsy. It came back negative. They was like, okay, the fibroid is not cancerous. So thank God for that. I was very happy about that. So they was like, well, you are at the age where you need your mammogram. Like I said, I was 40 on the brink of 41, never had a mammogram. So I was like, okay, do that. So in the midst of the fibroid situation, my results come back from the mammogram and they was like, we see a small spot on your left breast. We have to do another mammogram to make sure it's not cancerous. I'm like, Lord, what else? What else? What else? But thank God that came back. Come to find out, my breast had to be laid flatter on the machine in order for them to get a flatter picture, a better picture of my breast. And that's another thing, ladies. Get your mammograms too. By the time you get my age, late 30s, I think it's 40, you have to do it. You're going to have to get a mammogram. So make sure you get yourself checked out and stay checked out. But anyway, back to the fibroid. So after they found out the fibroid was not cancerous, I'm like, okay, well, what needs to be done? So they was like, well, you're gonna have to have surgery to remove it. So I said, okay, well, no problem. So after they told me that, I started looking into my different options for what Grady Hospital offer. Because I'm like, well, since I've already been dealing with them and didn't really have a primary at the time, they can do the surgery. So the first option I wanted to do was a myomectomy. So basically, the myomectomy would have just removed the fibroid and left my uterus. So to the doctor, they was like, well, we don't offer that here. So what I had to do was a full hysterectomy, meaning that they had to remove my uterus, all of my lady parts and all of that. So that did remove the fibroid. And to be honest, I felt so much better afterwards because I didn't have to deal with that pain anymore. I did feel so much better after the fibroid was removed. But like I said earlier, since Grady Hospital does not perform myomectomies, I had to get a full hysterectomy. And that really broke me down because I've always wanted kids. I did. I've always wanted kids. And I have lost three children in the past, two miscarriages and one ectopic pregnancy. And an ectopic pregnancy is basically when one of the babies, when your baby is born in one of your tubes and the entire tube has to be taken out. So that was a surgery I did, I think, back in 2018. Yeah. So to find out that I had to have a full hysterectomy, that just, it was more of an emotional and spiritual journey for me because the physical journey was not that bad. I actually healed in less than a week. And shout out to my last job because, babe, I had FMLA, Family Medical Leave Act, and I was off work for 3 months and getting paid for it. And it was more of a, I needed that time emotionally, spiritually, and mentally to just bounce back. Because to go from, oh, well, it might be a possibility in your, latter years, you may be able to have, at least one child before you leave this earth, to not being able to have your own child at all anymore was just, I was actually devastated. I was actually devastated. But I wish I would have did more research into the fibroid clinics. I had an appointment with one um before my surgery, but I couldn't get off for it because I was always taking off work already because of the pain I was dealing with the fibroids. So yeah, Grady Hospital, they did an amazing surgery. My mom was right there by my side. They had great doctors, great nurses. Shout out to the staff. I had no problem with, physically healing or anything like that. So yeah, basically that is my fibroid story. Yeah, so right now I am looking into adoption and, fostering options because I still want children and I'm still trying to get over the fact, I'm better now. I had my surgery last year in April, and even though it's been a little over a year, every now and then I still break down and cry. I still think about what could have been, or Lord, why me? Or there are so many women out here that don't even want their children and blah 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 and so forth. But I have learned that you can't change the past. You can't do that. You can't change the past. But yeah, you can't change your past. You can't alter your past. The only thing you could try to do is move on from it. It is what it is. Never did I think that I would lose three children. Never did I think I would have one small fibroid. I've seen women. I saw one woman, excuse me, she had 21 fibroids. And they try to convince her to have a full hysterectomy, but she was able to get hers removed. And that I'm happy for her, but that kind of hurt my heart because I was like, damn, I only had one, and you know, um, I had to have a full hysterectomy, but our ways are not his. Our plans are not his. We don't know what the future may bring. But if you ever have any questions about my fibroid journey, you can inbox me. You can message me. You can reply under my post. This video right here. I apologize again for waiting so late to tell my story because July last month. Was actually Fibroid Awareness Month. But yeah, I apologize, y'all. But yeah, that's my fibroid story. If you see it, now you will know why at my big age of 44 years old, I don't have children. So y'all can stop asking me. I had people, say, you must don't like children. You must don't want children. You must. I love children, adore them. But it just wasn't in God's plan for me to have my own. But it is what it is, and it is definitely a spiritual and mental journey, but it's all good. Y'all have a good night, and I love you all. I wanted to leave out with saying one more thing, and this is for the men and the women. If your body doesn't feel right, go get checked out. I don't care if it seems small to you or someone else. Please go get checked out before things just get too far where you might be not be able to do anything about it. Because like I said, when I first experienced this journey, it was like maybe 2 years prior before I got my surgery last year. So I'm thinking like, okay, I'm just having period cramps every 2 weeks. I'm bleeding, but it was something actually bigger. It was a whole fibroid. So don't be scared. Don't be nervous, baby. You can go to the clinic. You ain't got no insurance. Go somewhere and get your body checked out because we all need to be checked out because you just never know what your body goes through. Our bodies deal with so much trauma on a daily basis, whether it's going to and from work, to and from school, daily journeys. You just need to get your body checked out, at least 2 to 3 times a year because you just never know what your body is going through internally. So please do that for me. And again, I love you all. Bye.